Hi. We're going to talk about using Ceph distributed open source distributed storage behind your cloud. So we're running this behind our cloud. We're a cloud provider in the Netherlands, and we've been building public clouds. We started as a shared hosting company, but we were fed up with storage. We were using NetApp, Ecologic, EMC, anything we were using it didn't work. We wanted something which could scale, which was open source, because we are an open source minded company. So how can you use something open source, have a distributed system, but it wasn't there yet a couple of years ago. So we found Ceph, and we said, we're going to use Ceph, we're going to be experimenting with Ceph, work with Ceph, and actually use it behind our cloud. I'm the CTO of the company, and I started using Ceph 10 years ago. What is Ceph? Well, we call it, the community calls it, the future of storage. It is a unified distributed storage system. So what does unified mean? Because we can say unified, does it mean anything? Well, it's a really cool system. It's open source, seamless scaling, no single point of failure, and it runs on commodity hardware. Because usually you buy the most expensive hardware for your storage you can find because you don't want the systems to go down. You say, well, I'll just buy the most expensive system because that's probably the best one, right? And every component must scale. We are scaling out the systems. We want to have big systems without downtime. I always ask the question, who has been watching an rsync or a data migration on Sunday morning, waiting for the data to migrate? You're just at downtime, you're waiting behind your keyboard, waiting, time ticking away, waiting for the system to migrate. But we want to scale out the systems without downtime. So, Ceph, the unified storage. It provides a block device, a file system, and an object store, which is Amazon compatible. So if you're using Amazon, you say, well, I'm going to turn my storage in-house, I want to use Amazon S3, but on my own premises, you can run the Rados gateway. Or you can use the block device behind anything like CloudStack, OpenStack, OpenNebula, or just plain KVM. But the cool thing is it's also a file system. But the heart of Ceph is called Rados, a reliable, autonomous, distributed object store. It's an autonomous system. All the daemons inside the system, they are autonomous. They make their own decisions. There's no central point which tells where data goes or where data is stored. It's all done by calculation. This way, we can scale out the systems. The biggest system I know out there right now running Ceph is 30 petabytes of usable capacity. That's a couple of hundred machines running inside one single Ceph system. So we are using this behind our cloud, but you also have a file system. So you might want to use the block device, and you want to have a drop-in replacement for NFS, you can use CephFS. So that's what we call the future of storage, a unified system with the gateway in there, if you want to use object storage with a block device or with a file system. But the block device, that's usually what people use inside the cloud. Who here is using block devices behind something like their cloud, like OpenStack, like CloudStack? Anybody using iSCSI? I see a few hands coming up. Well, if you want to scale out iSCSI, it's pretty difficult. You're limited to a single iSCSI box, which can scale up to a certain point. But if you want to go bigger, then you have to buy a new system. That's where Ceph comes in again. It can keep scaling and scaling and scaling. So the block device, it's widely used by very big clouds. There are a few names out here. I'm not going to, well, I can mention them, but you can find them on the internet who are all using Ceph behind their cloud because we want to scale out, again, scaling those systems. But features, thin provisioning, so you can oversell your cloud as much as you like. You can hand out 2 petabytes of data to your customers while you only might have 500 terabytes of real capacity. And as the customers keep uploading data, you can keep scaling your system without needing to do the upfront investment of all your capacity. Although your customers might be actually paying for 2 petabytes while you have 500 terabytes of data. Well, that's overselling, that's thin provisioning, that's cool. Again, seamless scaling. We don't want to go down. If you tell your customers, well, we need to go down for maintenance because we want to scale out the storage. They say, hey, it's no longer 1990. Come on, seriously, do it online. Don't bother me. Snapshotting, and there's native integration in all the big projects. KVM, libvirt, and in the end, OpenStack and CloudStack, they both use KVM and libvirt for their virtualization. So, PC Extreme, we're using Ceph since 2013 in production. There are people coming to me asking me, say, oh, can I use Ceph in production? Sure, why not? Well, it's kind of scary, it's this new project. I said, well, we've been using it in production for 6 years already. Did we ever lose data? Never. Did we encounter downtime? Sure, we encountered some downtime. Was it due to Ceph? Well, mainly not. It was actually network stuff which was failing. It was not Ceph. So it's no longer scary. If you want to use an open source system, then you can go to Ceph. Why would you go for a vendor lock-in? What they tell you is after 3 years, they say, well, it's end of life. Buy a new system. Well, I want to migrate my data. Well, there's no tool. We just end of life this system. Sorry, buy something else. The cool thing with Ceph is you can run your hardware for 5 years, or maybe for 6 years. And that's where the profit starts. Because hardware is usually written off after 3 years, or 4 years, maybe 5 years. But since it's a distributed system, a node can fail. And if the old node fails, you just turn it off and throw it away. Then you buy a new one. Keep your hardware running. As long as it runs, it's actually making money for you. But there's no vendor lock-in. There's no vendor telling you, this is end of life, go put it away. No, you are free actually to do with the hardware and the software as you like. You can upgrade when you want. It's not the vendor dictating what you do. So for us, it's the storage behind our cloud. We have multiple petabytes of data running on Ceph systems. It's actually all full NVMe. We have multiple clusters, so yes, although Ceph can scale to very big clusters, we decided to have smaller systems, failure domains. Although Ceph can scale out, we want to say, well, if an issue arises, not all our customers are affected. We have a small portion of customers affected. And we have them located in multiple data centers. But it's SSD and NVMe only. Running on Supermicro, 1 U machines, 10 NVMe drives, 2 CPUs, connected all on 10G, and we just have racks full of these machines running Ceph systems. It's 100% Supermicro different cloud, using Intel CPUs and Samsung SSDs. As I said, full NVMe. The previous generation we had was on SATA SSDs, where we're now using NVMe. And those are all assembled, tested, and delivered by TWP, our distributor in Amsterdam, for our Supermicro equipment. So yeah, this was actually the things I wanted to mention about Ceph. A bit about our cloud. We're running in Amsterdam, Antwerp, Barcelona, and Miami, and it's driven by Apache Cloud Stack and by Ceph. And we do have IPv6 support. So that's a bit of my other things. I like Ceph, but I like IPv6 as well. So if you want to talk about public-private cloud running on Ceph, stop by at booth G12, and I'll tell you more.